studio Mateusz Tyrmand. Matthew Tyrmand, Polak z amerykańskim paszportem albo Amerykanin z polskim paszportem, to w zależności od punktu widzenia. Matthew, there is a political standoff between Barack Obama and the Republican majority in Senate. There is no hearing over Supreme Court nomination, but there is no Komitet Obrony Demokracji in Washington. There are no rallies in front of the Senate building. Why is that?
Well, I would say that this standoff is the Republicans actually being the defenders of democracy. Their view, and the United States Constitution says that the president, when there is an empty seat in the Supreme Court, it's a lifetime appointment. Judge Antonin Scalia just passed recently. The president has the responsibility to choose a replacement, make an appointment. The Senate then has to hold a confirmation hearing, and this takes some time. The United States Senate, which is Republican majority right now, said that in this election year, it is wrong to force a confirmation process within a fixed timeline that would allow Obama to appoint the nominee. So given that this is a 6-month process, they said, we have a moment in time to see what the American people feel on such a dramatic appointment. If the American people vote to go left and Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden versus going to the Republicans, that says a lot about who the appointee should be.
But Supreme Court, that's a court. It's not a government. It's not a president. This is exactly the same problem that we have in Poland regarding Trybunał Konstytucyjny. Again, why Canada is not protesting, why Mexico is not sending some kind of Komisja Wenecka to Washington? Why is that?
They both have bigger problems. With the United States Supreme Court, this appointment process, given how long it's going to take, there is no constitutional crisis. They're following a constitutionally mandated order of operations and going within the right timeline. The difference is, in Poland, the constitutional crisis, and this is not something the Western press has delineated, unfortunately, in a dishonest depiction of the events, the constitutional crisis occurred before the election. It was October 8th, October 9th, when there was an illegal appointment process. When the statutory appointment terms were up, that's when replacement should have been made, not before the election to try and galvanize a non-independent constitutional tribunal. So the constitutional crisis here was caused before the election, and now the Western media is painting it as if there's a crisis caused by those who won the election, which is a fallacy.
And this is the reason why Barack Obama asks this kind of question to the Polish representatives while visiting United States?
Well, Barack Obama, like Hillary and Bill Clinton and George Soros, all have a very similar worldview, and the most simplistic predicate of that worldview is delineated in Open Society Foundation's mission statement, which is a one world, less borders, people move more freely, and power is more centralized. So if they can break down national sovereignty, which the European project is working on doing, and some would argue successfully, some not. America, we have states' rights, which function similarly as the European Union, and Barack Obama has very much broken that down. The United Nations is breaking down national sovereignty, and Davos is trying to do it in the private sector. So when Obama says this, just like when Bill Clinton says what he said, which we'll speak about in a moment, is the same thing, the same ideals that are being parroted by George Soros, and it's not surprising that Barack Obama would come out on this side of this issue.
You were trying to catch George Soros' founding Komitet Obrony Demokracji. In the New Yorker magazine, we can read a statement of Laura Silber, the Chief Communication Officer for the Open Society Foundations, and she says, we were asked if we fund the Polish opposition. We don't, directly or indirectly. We do support groups that advance the rule of law and human rights, which are under threat in Poland today. This is admitting that the Open Society project and that this foundation is doing some political job in Poland.
I agree. Well, I think that they played a very, these are very good press people. And this is the people who work with George Soros, who's played the political game at the highest level on the left and organizing and getting the outcomes he wants into the mainstream. They played a semantic game. They said, we're not funding the opposition. No, they're probably not funding Nowoczesna or PO or PSL or Razem or any other party that is not aligned with the new government. But they did not rule out that they're funding civic-minded organizational activity, which is how they gave themselves this in by saying, as your quote said, that they do see rule of law being threatened in Poland, and they do address these issues in their activities.
Is it legal in United States to fund the political activities abroad?
Yes.
So there is no breaking of American law doing this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, there
But
is
there
a
are
rule.
transparency laws in domestic politics. So in domestic politics, you have the IRS tax code that sets up organizations in two main structures, 501c3s and 501c4s. C3s, like Project Veritas, who I'm on the board of, who engaged in this operation, or my project that I work with in Chicago, Open the Books, where we put government spending online, these are non-political activity. These are educational activity. We go after ideas and put them forward. C4s can engage politically, and the difference is in a tax treatment. You can actually take a tax deduction on the educational activity, but not on the political activity, and funding candidates per se.
So, but in Poland, it is illegal to receive funding for the political activity from abroad.
Yes.
Is, in your opinion, Komitet Obrony Demokracji a political activity or no?
I certainly think it is. I wrote a piece for Breitbart.com, Breitbart London, the European vertical, where I asked, is Soros funding an agitprop movement in order to destabilize the democratically elected new Polish government?
Is it funding, in your opinion?
And I do think it's funding, and I think they...
Can you prove it somehow?
Not yet. We, unfortunately, this operation did not go as planned, as the New Yorker article displayed. And as our video, we put a video on Breitbart, we put it's on YouTube, where we talked to employees outside Soros, and the lack of transparency was very, very interesting, because Soros owns this whole building, 10 floors, offices, and everybody who came out of the building said they didn't work for George Soros. So apparently it's an empty building.
George Soros says he is able to spend about $50 billion to stop Vladimir Putin to get the power in Ukraine. Do you see, do you find it somehow contradictional, financing the opposition in Poland and opposing Vladimir Putin in Ukraine?
Well, these people have messianic complexes. They believe that they are the greatest benevolent force the world's ever seen. They believe this in Brussels. They believe this in Washington. They believe this certainly in sovereign capitals in many of the European countries, Paris, Berlin. I do think that Soros believes he is doing something good by abrogating real democracy. I do not think he will have this effect. In fact, in spite of the money he's using to fund Hillary Clinton, to fund KOD, which is going either through Stefan Batory Foundation or through this non-political organization. KOD says they're apolitical. Sure, it looks like a political rally when you've got flags of PO and Nowoczesna and Shetina and Petrowicz speaking.
We do
it does look like a
support
political
groups
rally.
that advance the rule of law and human rights, which are under threat in Poland today. Is it the official explanation and the way the American elites right now understands the situation in Poland? What groups and what threats are
so
in
the
Poland
elites,
regarding
the American media, academic, and political elite, just like in Europe, just like in the UK, they have a certain political worldview, and it's been wholly rejected by the people on the ground. It's in the process of right now in America. You see Trump's ascendancy. He's now leading Hillary Clinton in polls, and he will be the next president. You see it in Europe. You see it in Austria, where this election looks like it was stolen, and when Juncker says that he's not going to talk to any far-right candidate who gets elected in an EU nation, these people have maintained a narrative and they have entrenched it through the media and through the academy, but they do not speak for the popular majority.
Bill Clinton a couple of weeks ago said that the Poland and Hungary find democracy is too much trouble and they want Putin-like leadership. Just give me an authoritarian dictatorship and keep the foreigners out. Why he says things like this?
Well, again, I think he believes it. These are people, him, his wife, Hillary Clinton, the people they surround themselves with, Samantha Power in the UN, Susan Rice, total academic leftist elites. Kennedy School of Government's a great place. We have them in Poland. Anne Applebaum is a great example. They believe that any time a country goes to the right, anytime the people speak out and they reject globalism, they reject technocratic elitism as the mandate of rule, that this is fascism. So when he gets his news from the Washington Post, Jackson Deal, Anne Applebaum's friend, wrote a horrible piece that was filled with lies in November. The New York Times, you've got Ivan Krastev, who's contributed about the evils of the new Polish government. He gets funded by Brussels-funded think tanks. The Associated Press, Politico, FT. This is the worldview they share. Barack Obama goes to London and he says that if you leave, we're not going to trade with you. You're going to go to the back of the line on any trade deal. They are trying to manipulate a world led by the globalist elites in their circle. It's being rejected.
That's Hillary Clinton. What happens for Poland if Donald Trump wins the presidency?
Well, as I've been saying the last few days in conversations, both public and private, I think that Hillary Clinton would be a disaster for Poland. I think Donald Trump is much better for Poland. Everyone knows that I was very vocal in support of Ted Cruz as the ideal candidate for a hawkish U.S. that would most directly look out for Polish interests.
Donald Trump is not going to make a deal with Putin over Poland?
No. Absolutely not. Donald Trump is a pragmatist, and right now the American grassroots right wants to hear non-interventionist discussion. They are tired. The country is tired. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, which was a total disaster under Hillary Clinton's watch, Syria, where Obama couldn't seem to manage something as simple as don't kill your citizens with chemical weapons. The American grassroots says enough. We have our own problems. But Donald Trump knows, as a non-provincial businessman, he's done business all over the world. He's engaged politics at a very, very high level. He knows that the pragmatism necessary is to protect global trade. And I think that he sees Europe as an important trading partner and European stability as an important component of maintaining shared prosperity in the developed world. And I think that he will also be, as a positive surprise, a good check on Brussels, because he's coming to D.C. to break down the D.C. centralization of power that has abrogated states' rights. And I know that he sees what's going on in Europe in a similar mentality. And if anything, his rhetoric toward Russia was a check on Europe. I do not think he's going to allow Russia to do any more carving up of the map than they already have, because for him, he knows that a strong America is necessary to a stable world. He has a bit of a Reagan foreign policy, though he hasn't sold that yet, because again, that is going to be rejected in part by the grassroots who are tired of spending for global incursion. I think Donald Trump will be a very good president for Poland. Perfect? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. But again, it's like being sick or being afraid of getting sick. With Hillary Clinton, it's sick. It doesn't work. Donald Trump can show a lot of alternative methods in governance that can be very helpful to our situation.
A to recepta, czy w zasadzie diagnoza Mateusza Tyrmanda. Matthew Tyrmanda, Amerykanina z polskim paszportem albo Polaka z paszportem amerykańskim.